All right, in this video, what we're going to do is create the cube and plane final CPP files.
That's right.
We've
Basically, get our
started,
primitives.
but that's about it. Now, these aren't going to be the most exciting CPP files around.
No, they're actually kind of boring.
Yeah, they are. So just bear with us as Joel works his way through a lot of copying and pasting.
That's right. So remember our primitive.h, which is an abstract class. I'm going to go over to our primitive.cpp and simply include its header. So include primitive.h.
Okay.
And then I can go ahead and start implementing cube and plane. I'll start out with cube just so you can have a good idea of how the whole creation of geometry works. And so let's copy and paste this create primitive function and paste this in here. Let me go ahead and include my cube.h. Excuse me.
Okay. All right, here we go.
So,
add a vertex.
Basically what we're going to need to do, and I'm just going to walk you through this. Basically we have our Mesh.CPP, and remember we created our add vertex, add normal, add text coordinate.
That's right.
Basically we need to add all the vertices necessary to create a cube. And of course this is going to be a total of, well, 8 vertices. So if I come over to my cube.cpp, let me go ahead and add a vertex. And we're going to need one at -1, -1, -1, and all of the other positions. And if you just look back into our original cube demo where we had that cube, any vertex that you saw there that we used, any unique one, needs to be added.
That's right.
So let me just go ahead and paste this 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And go ahead and add in all of these. So a little bit boring, but a necessary evil. Yeah, let me just make sure I don't make a mistake here. Let's see.
Yep, he's positive.
This one's positive?
I believe so.
Okay. And this one's negative. And then this one's negative. This one's positive.
Your Y's all the way down are positive at that point.
Yeah. Basically, we have negative, 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 4 negatives, and then all positives on the bottom here. And this one's going to be...
So positive, next one's positive, and then the last one's negative.
Negative, yeah. And this one's negative as well. So let me just go ahead and negate this. And you can see a pattern if you're looking here.
And over in Z, basically, the last 2 are positive.
Right, so we have 2 negatives, 2 positives, 2 negatives, 2 positives, all negative, all positive, and then we fluctuate on our X.
Very nice.
So these are all 8 of the vertices that we need to create our cube. All right, we also need normals. And, of course, we have 6 faces on this cube. And, well... 6, well, we're going to have 13 or 12 basically because we have these are
everything's
in triangles.
A triangle. That's
exactly.
Right.
But otherwise, we have 6 normals. So let's add in our 6 normals. And basically, these are going to point in our x and x-axis positive and negative, y-axis positive and negative, and z-axis positive and negative. So 1, 0, 0. And let me just copy and paste this 5 times. So our x. Negative, positive, negative for our y-axis, and finally, positive and negative for our z-axis. Alright, so finally we have our texture coordinates, and for this we only need 4. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1.
Right.
So we're going to have our add text coord, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1. And of course, the order in which we declare these is very important because when we create our face, we're going to be creating them via an index into our vertices array. So this is going to seem a little bit cryptic, but it does allow us to easily create a particular face. So this is going to be 0, 4, 5. So we're using vertex 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to create our first face. And we're going to use normal 5, 5, 5, and 5. So that's this one right here, which is pointing up. So the first 2 faces we create are going to be pointing in the negative z-axis. And this one's going to be 5. Let me see, how many 5s do I have here? Wow.
4 5s.
4 5s, all right. And then we're at 0, 1, and 2 for our texture coordinates. So we define a vertex followed by our normals, which in this case, since they're all pointing in the same way, we want a sharp edge. So all normals are the same. And then we have our texture coordinate. So let me just copy and paste this. Again, this is very boring and tedious, but again, it is very necessary. So we have our 3, 2, and 0. The bright side of all this is once we create this, it will be very simple to go ahead and create a cube anytime that we want.
That is true.
Very, very true.
So now just copy, pasting, and a lot of number changing.
So let's see.
Let me just walk you through them all the way across.
2.
So 6, 7, 4, 4, 4, 0, 1, 2.
And then you'll notice that for the rest of our texture coordinates, they're all going to remain the same. And for our normals, they're simply going to be decrementing. So let me just copy and paste this 4 extra times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we're going to have 6 faces. And we want our negative y, just so you get an idea of a pattern that we have here. And then negative z, and negative x, and positive x. And then we have for our normals, this is decrementing, as I said. I arranged that purposely so that it'd be really obvious. And then we have our 1s all the way down. And then 0. Now we just need to fill in the vertices for this. So for our negative y, what we need is a 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, 0. If I make a mistake, please let me know.
So that was for negative y.
For our positive y,
5, 4, 7.
5, 4, 7.
Negative x. 3.
No. We're still on positive y. Yeah, so 7,
6, and 5.
5. Yeah, there we go. And then for our negative x, we have what? 3, 7, 4.
And 4, 0, 3.
4, 0, and 3. And you'll notice, just to point this out, notice that we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's a total of 4 unique vertices that we're using here because we're defining one unique face.
Right.
So that requires 4 vertices. And finally, for our last one, we have 1, 5,
and
6,
and 6, 2, 1.
Yeah. So there you go. After many hours of labor, we have our cube. And our plane is going to be a little bit different. Let me just copy this over and paste it over into our plane, because all we're doing is overloading our create primitive for now. So plane.h and plane create primitive. Actually, let me go ahead and copy the rest of them. For our plane.h, let me copy and paste these 2 over as well, because these are fairly simple to do, so I might as well do these first. So we need to set our size and our divisions. For our set size, let me go ahead and change this to W and H, because our local variables
so we don't have any conflicts.
That's right. So width equals W and height equals H. And for our set divisions,
same thing. Go ahead and change that.
Something like div, and set our divisions equal to div.
Cool.
So now for our create primitive, in the last one we hard-coded everything. In this one we can actually calculate it. And if you remember back when we created our light, we're using the exact same idea here. So what we're going to do is create an increment in x, which is going to be width divided by the number of our divisions, and an increment in y, which is our height divided by our number of divisions. And because our plane is only pointing in, one direction.
That's right.
It's on one plane. All we need to do is add one normal, which is going to be 0, 1, 0. And we're not going to actually be using texture coordinates for our plane. So we'll just set this to text coord 0 and 0. And adding in texture coordinates is not really that hard. You just need to basically sample between 0 and 1 across the entire plane.
Right.
And then what we're going to do is exactly the same as we did over in the light demo. So from negative width divided by 2 to positive width divided by 2. And then x plus equals increment x. And the same for our y component. So y, negative height to positive height divided by 2. And y is going to plus equal y increment.
Cool.
So inside of here, we're going to need to add 4 vertices and then add 2 faces. Because again, we're in triangles here. So let's create our V1. And remember, we're returning our index. So simply pass back V1. So add vertex x plus inc x 0. We're going to be on the xz plane, so all of our y is going to be 0. And then simply y plus inc y. Let me just copy and paste this 3 more times into our vertex 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And this is going to be just X. This one's going to be just X. And let me tab this over just to clean it up a bit.
And the bottom 2 are going to be just Y.
Yeah, so let me just clean that up. There we go. Now we just need to create our 2 faces. So simply do an add face, V1, V3, and V4. 0, 0, 0. For our normal, since we only have 1 normal, they're all zeros. And we only have 1 UV for all of them, so they're all 0 as well. And then let me go ahead and copy and paste this. So our V4, V2, and our V1. So, with that seems to be everything that we need. So let me go ahead and try to compile this and make sure everything works. Primitives compiling, planes compiling. Okay, we have 2 little problems here. Okay, I forgot to scope it in. So simply plane, : : Awesome. So with that, that's pretty much all of the classes. What else do we need to do here? Well, that's basically all of our scene graph, if you will. If you look, we have our cube, we have our mesh, our node, our plane, our primitive, and our transform node completely implemented.
That's awesome.
So at this point, we just need to go in and create our controls.
Yeah, sounds good. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.